Cancer, this is your tarot reading for the month of June. And looking at the cards as I dealt them out, for all signs this is, I can see that it's going to be an eventful month. So I sincerely hope you get something from it. I really do, that you find this useful. Now, look at that middle card. Six of Pentacles. It's the card of charity. Now, we don't know if that's you giving or receiving charity. The other thing that I would say is just recently, whenever this has cropped up, it's not been about physical charity. Not so much physical charity as much as being charitable towards others, charitable in your opinions. I've no idea if that's how we should interpret this, but it's a possibility I need to remember. And this is an energy that runs throughout the entire reading. In the recent past, we have the Ace of Wands. The Ace of Wands is you seeking something, seeking action. Maybe also getting some information, but certainly looking for something. Whereas now, you're saving for the future. We have the Seven of Pentacles, and that's laying down things for the future. Now, I think it was Aquarius that had exactly that same card in that place, which is quite interesting. And we now, for the future, we have the Page of Wands, which is again going out and seeking action. So there's an impetus for action here. You may receive intuitive messages as well, but there's an impetus for action. Whereas the card that impacts on the outcome, I wouldn't say is the opposite, but it's a bit like that. It's the Nine of Wands. And that's you sort of reminiscing, looking back over what has worked in the past and what hasn't worked in the past. Almost saying, well, I can see an end is in sight. And I've been through all this before. I've seen it. I know what's happening. Now, the card that would change the outcome is the Five of Pentacles, which is the card of poverty. Could be poverty or no friends. And that's sort of come a bit out of the blue. Particularly given that card of charity that we had. And the outcome, and I suppose I ought to do this as well, because I can't quite understand what's going on here, and neither can you. So you're sitting under a tree, contemplating things, and I think that's no bad thing to be doing. But if you look behind his head, he doesn't see the gift of that other cup. So maybe you're losing opportunities because of it. Now, I'm not saying it's a bad card to have as an outcome, particularly given the confusion I've got about this spread. I'm sure you must be a little bit confused as well. Look, you've got to wait on, because I'm clearly nowhere near giving you an explanation on all this. So do hang around for the full reading. Now, as I say, the card that dominates the reading is the Six of Pentacles, which is a card of charity. Now, it normally is about, physically about money. Pentacles are about money. And we don't know if it's you receiving or giving charity. I mean, you look at the card. She's like Lady Bountiful, isn't she? She's doling out money to the needy, which is charity, isn't it? But recently it seems to be cropping up, suggesting you should take a more charitable attitude towards others. Now, I've no idea if that's how we should interpret it, and given that this runs throughout, I need to interpret all the other cards, or all the other energies, in the light of this charity card, which throws me a little looking at those cards. In your recent past, we have the Ace of Wands. This is a card of you seeking something, going out and looking for something. It's an imperative for action. In all likelihood, you do find it. In all likelihood, you will get intuitive messages as you seek them out. But why are you seeking out something? Well, you clearly wanted your world to change. Don't we all? Don't we all? You wanted your world to change. Charity. How does it fit in with charity? Do you want to receive charity, or do you want to be more charitable? I really don't know. I don't know. I'll have to think about this and maybe integrate it a bit later. Now, your current energy does make a little bit more sense, and that's the Seven of Pentacles. That's about you saving for the future. And again, Pentacles normally means money. And if you look at the card, well, he's literally planting money. So you plant money and it'll grow, and in the future you'll have more money. So I liken this card, in Java I have teak trees, and they're worth a fortune, but it takes forever for them to grow. So it's like money in the bank or long-term investments. Well, this is the card of long-term investments. So you're laying down long-term investments. How does that relate to charity? Well, maybe you're doing it to help others. Maybe. Now, your future energy is that of the Page of Wands, and this completely fits in with that Ace of Wands, because it is you going off and seeking adventure, seeking something new, maybe seeking inspiration, maybe seeking intuitive messages, and surely they will come to you. Surely you will get intuitive messages because you're seeking it, and this is coming from the future. How does it relate to charity? I've got no idea. I've got no idea. No, it's beating me a bit, this spread at the moment. I will get there, but it's beating me a bit. Maybe I'm seeing something now. The energy leading to the outcome is the Nine of Wands. This is a card of looking back and saying, can I learn anything from the past? It's a sort of a card of saying, well, I've seen it all before. And be it good or be it bad, you're foreseeing things based on what's happened in the past. And you're, to a certain degree, taking it in your stride. Now, I'd say the outcome is a neutral outcome. But I think what this whole reading is about is something of a warning from the universe that things aren't wonderful. And this isn't the time to rush out and do things. It's a time to say, yeah, maybe this will happen, maybe that will happen. Let me explore things. And I think this is where the charity comes into it, because you see, you're wanting to rush out and do things, but you don't know what you should do. And it's just be charitable towards everything. Be charitable in your thoughts. So it could be about your thoughts. Yes, it could. The card that would change the outcome is the Five of Pentacles, which is a card of poverty, or maybe the card of no friends. You look at it, there's the girl there with, I guess it's her grandfather, who's walking on crutches. Looks like there's snow on the ground. It looks miserable, but they are walking in front of a chapel and the light is shining through that window, so there is always hope. Where does this poverty come from? Well, do you know where I think it comes from? I was suggesting that many people would lose money in April. And maybe you did. Maybe you did lose money in April. or March, April, I was saying it would happen. And maybe you did. People lost money on banks failing. People lost money on exchange rates. People lost money on digital currencies, other investments. So it's possible you did. Or is it going to happen to you a little bit later? Is it something that happens to you in May or June? It's possible. Or is it simply a fear of that? Well, we don't know. But I think I'll get some clarification on that, because of this, I think, does hold the key to things. The outcome isn't a bad outcome. I'd say it's a neutral outcome. You look at him, he's sitting under a tree contemplating, and do you know, we all need to do that at times. We need to go inside ourselves. And I think it is to do with world events. I think you're thinking, what the hell is going on in this world? What's been going on? And what should I be doing? And if you remember, we've had all these sort of impetuses for action. And I think it's good that you're taking stock, because you're saying, hang on, have I seen situations like this before? Chances are you possibly have somewhat, but not completely. The warning in this is, if you see the hand behind his head, in going inside yourself, you will miss out on opportunities. But I don't think it's a bad thing to be doing. I think it's quite a good and sensible thing to be doing, because I think this reading is about some warnings to you about what's going on in the world and how they will impact on you. But I want clarification on this poverty card, first of all. Yeah, let's get some clarity on this Five of Pentacles, the poverty card. First card we get is the Chariot, direction, knowing what you're doing, fast-paced. And the second card that we get is the Nine of Wands, which is about direction and quick movement. And the final card we get is the Knight card, brave, bold, fearless, but maybe rushes into things. Not as much as the Knight of Wands, but rushes in. I think I know what's going on. And I'm not going to give the game away, you'll have to listen to each description. Now, the first card of clarity is the Chariot card. This is a card of control, knowing a sense of direction, and moving there with a great pace. And you look at the card, well, it says it all, doesn't it? You know, she's in control. It is about balance. It is about balance. It's a degree of balance, a degree of control, knowing where you're going and going there very quickly. And I'm not going to say any more. And now we have the Eight of Wands. I might have called it the Nine earlier, and I apologise if that upsets you. I often get my numbers wrong. I know what the cards mean, but I read the pictures rather than the knowing it all off by heart. But anyway, it's a very similar card to the Chariot card. Maybe a little bit less control, but certainly a sense of direction. Maybe a little less balance as well, but certainly a sense of direction and moving very quickly. So we've got two cards there about very quick paced movement. So a picture's emerging, isn't it? Have you got it yet? Because I'm going to move on to the next. Now, I think this final card, it's the Knight of Swords. I think it fits in with the other two cards. See if you can get there before I tell you. And that is that he's brave, he's fearless. But to a certain degree, he rushes into things. He's not as bad as the Knight of Wands. Now, how does this all fit together? Because we've got this sort of speed, this pace, this direction, fearlessness. I think what we're being told is now is not the time to have a firm sense of direction, to have pace, to have fearless. Now is a time to be more charitable towards others. And it's all related to my comments earlier about things weren't as bad in March and April, in terms of people losing money as I anticipated. And what I think, now I have to say, I certainly don't come to me for financial advice, but I also have to say that I believe that all markets are inherently rigged. Now, I don't want to come up with another sea theory about all of this, just to say that there are mechanisms within markets that mean that they favour the professional investors. That's all I'm getting at. And what I think happened what has been happening is there's been... You see, I talk about I don't want to create another sea. I personally think that these seas that abound in society are started by the rich and the powerful. They're not done by the little men. So, this platform abounded with apocalyptic predictions on what will happen to financial markets during March and April. And they haven't fully come true. I mean, some of it has, but they haven't fully. Now, why was that? And I think it was to panic the unprofessional investor into putting their money into... And I don't know, it could be gold, it could be digital currencies or cryptocurrencies. It could have been a whole pile of different things. Because there was a plan to then destroy those markets. And I think that's the potential of what's happened to you. And you're being asked to be charitable, to be magnanimous, to understand that it was your own greed to a certain degree that created this situation rushing in. Now, I don't know if you actually did fall for it, if you actually did, poverty did happen. But what you're being told to do is to think things through, think it over. Don't be so rash. So I think we can summarise now. Cancer, an interesting reading to say the least. I don't know if you've actually lost money or going to lose money or are just worried about it. But it's a reading, I believe, about investments. I think you're somebody that likes to have control of your investments, maybe to play the financial markets. I get a lot of people, just because if I can see things, people come to me as though I should be giving financial advice. And the last person you should come to is me. But I've been spotting for a long time that I thought in March and April, there would be a lot of people lose money. And some people did, let's face it. But it hasn't totally manifested itself. And I'm not sure if you did lose money or it's just fear of it. But you're somebody that likes control. You're somebody that likes to remain in control. You're somebody that thinks that they can play the market. You're somebody that thinks that you can outsmart the market, despite me believing that all markets are inherently rigged. And I think to a certain degree, this reading is about you coming to understand that. Because what you've been tempted to do is to try and outplay the market. And if you do, there's no doubt you will lose money. Simple as that. But if you can take a step back and say, look, I've been around long enough to see things going up and going down. And whilst I have no idea what's really going on at the moment, maybe what I ought to be doing is not trying to act, just trying to think things through. And if you have lost money, it's urging you to be more charitable to those that you lost money on, because all they were doing was trying to outsmart the market just as you were. And I think there might be a watershed, maybe not in June, it might be July, but I think you'll begin to understand that actually it's your own behaviour that creates the problems. And as I say, now is not the time to be bold. Now is the time to just think things through and to be a little bit charitable. And that's the message.